Hi, I'm Nathan Schultz. I'm the founder of Boulder Nordic Sport, and this segment is about Fluoro application. With Fluoro application, we're starting with a ski that's gone through the cleaning and the glide waxing process, and now we're up to the final step, which is applying a Fluoro powder, and then possibly applying top coats after that. But Fluoro application, or Fluoro powder application, is very difficult and intimidating for most people because you use high iron temperatures. But we really want to show you how it's fairly simple to do as long as you follow the right steps and don't get intimidated by it. To start with Fluoro application, we're going to need a few tools, not very complicated. We're going to need a good high quality iron. Most Fluoro powders, especially these days, require really high temperatures, which takes a special iron that can hold the temperature and is specially designed to have a really high quality heating element and really precise temperature control so that we don't burn the ski. Most teams and people who are waxing regularly are going to use a digital iron. There's some high-end irons that are not digital that are just as good with the heating element, but this really is an important part of the process because it is easy to burn our skis without a proper iron temperature. The other tools that we're going to need for Fluoro application would be some masking tape. If we're working on classic skis, we'll want to tape off the kick zone. And then we'll need a plastic scraper and several brushes to remove the Fluoro powder and polish everything out. It's also mandatory to have a good high quality respirator. The dust that comes off in the smoke when we burn these Fluoro powders in is toxic in your lungs. It's not something you want to be exposed to on a regular basis. It's good to make sure that you are not using open flame because the small dust particulates are flammable, and also have good ventilation. So don't do this in a closet somewhere. To start our Fluoro application, if we're working with classic skis, we're going to be very careful not to put any of the Fluoro application into the kick zone. This stuff is so durable and so slippery that it will prevent the kick wax from binding to the ski base. So we really want to avoid that. So if we're using classic skis, we're going to start by masking off the kick zone, which is pretty simple. We run the masking tape right down to the kick zone and then use two pieces right on the end of the kick zone to really mark it off in a straight line. If we're working on skate skis, we're going to wax tip to tail, obviously, but for classic skis, we really want to be careful not to get any of this Fluoro powder into the kick zone. Again, we're dealing with a clean ski here, so these glide zones have already been prepared, they've been brushed out, we're ready to put the Fluoro powder on. We're going to begin the application with sprinkling the Fluoro powder on. This is an important step. This stuff is expensive, so you don't want to use too much of it, but it really is important to get good coverage on everything and make sure that you have enough material not only to make the ski fast, but to prevent the ski from burning. So what we usually do is go on each side of the groove and tap like this. You can also take your finger or a groove scraper and brush any of the powder out of the groove and onto the sides of the base. We need to heat up the iron that we're using to an appropriate temperature. Most of these Fluoro powders these days are between 160 and 180 Celsius. So again, we need a really good quality iron that's going to hold the temperature well and be stable so that we're not burning the ski. If it overcorrects and doesn't have tight temperature control, it's really easy to burn the ski. So we're going to prepare by getting our iron hot, making sure it's clean. The Fluoro powder's on the ski. When we melt the powder into the ski, we're going to use two passes. One very quick pass to tamp it down, and that just kind of creates an easier surface to melt in the material. And then we're going to do a second pass very quickly from tip to tail, and we're not going to stop. We're just going to go from tip to tail, keep it moving. If we miss a spot, we'll come back and hit it again. But the important part is to keep the iron moving quickly Don't press down too hard, and don't touch this really hot iron directly onto the ski base. So once we've applied the powder and sprinkled it on, now's the time to safety up and get our respirator on. And then we will burn the fluoro powder, make sure the air clears, and then brush it out. And we'll want to use this respirator while we're ironing and brushing both, because the dust particles are what we're trying to avoid.
Okay, so now we've got our respirator on. It's time to burn the fluoro powder in. We're going to start by tamping it down. Really quickly, move the iron. We don't want to burn the base at all. This is the dust that we don't want in our lungs. That's why we wear the respirator. Now what we're going to do is move the iron quickly from tip to tail and burn in the rest of this fluoro powder. Again, if you miss a spot, don't worry about it. The key is we're trying not to burn the ski. This is a really high temperature iron. We need to move it from tip to tail quickly so that we don't burn any of the area. We go on each side of the groove, just like this. If we've done it correctly, the wax will turn translucent. We'll have these little white areas, but we don't need to burn that in completely. Just let that go. On this side, you can see I missed a small area, so I'm going to go back and just hit it really quickly with the iron again. And we're good to go. So now that we've ironed this in, we're going to let it cool for at least 10 to 15 minutes. Longer is better, but a lot of times we don't have that luxury. But once it's cooled, we're going to scrape and brush, and then we're ready to get on the snow.
So now we've let the fluoro powder cool after ironing, and the next step is to get it off the ski. We're going to use our plastic scraper and our brushes, and because this kicks up dust, it's always a good idea whenever you're brushing, especially if you're a coach or in a wax room situation where you're waxing a lot. Put your respirator on. This dust is not good for us, so we want to make sure that we're safe. So we're going to start with putting our mask on, and then we're going to go through scraping and brushing the powder.
So we start with just a normal plastic scraper like we would any sort of wax application. From tip to tail, scrape off the initial wax. I like to start with a really fine steel brush. Just do very light passes to get some of this wax off and clean out some of the structure. So very light, and we want really fine steel to do this. Once we've brushed it out with the steel brush, I use this Home & Co. Horsehair brush is excellent for fluoro powders. It has some stiff bristles that really do work quickly and get the fluoro powder out of the base. This fluoro powder is extremely durable and hard, so it's difficult to get out of the base. We need to do a lot of work. So with these metal brushes, we only want to go one direction, but these natural fiber or nylon brushes, we can scrub back and forth. So I'm going to take this brush, apply a lot of pressure, and scrub back and forth until all of the wax is gone. And we have just a nice shiny layer. We can finish with a nylon brush, either a soft nylon or stiff nylon. Just give it some light passes here to polish it up, make it shiny and fast. Now we finished brushing.
And we can take off our mask and head out on snow. This is how you do fluoro powder application. I'm Nathan Schultz with Boulder Nordic Sport. Check out all of our other segments on waxing and our website, bouldernordic.com.